The views and opinions expressed by the guest author or speaker during this live session are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Reader's Magnet. The content shared is for informational purposes only and does not constitute endorsement or promotion of any particular belief, ideology, or product.
Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another awesome day here at RM Hive, and you're tuning in to Reader's Magnet's featured author interview. I'm your host, Revan, and our featured author today has transformed a lifetime of personal challenges, family values, and mentorship into a story filled with wisdom and purpose. Drawing from his own journey of overcoming adversity and years of guiding young people as a coach and mentor, his writing encourages readers to reflect, grow, and strive to make the world a better place. He is the author of a featured book today called The Voyage of a Wiseman. Please welcome William J. White. Hi, Joe. Thank you for joining us here today at RM Hive. How are you?
I'm good, and thanks a lot for having me, Revan. It's a pleasure.
Yes. And,
Yeah.
I love the title here, The Voyage of a Wise Man. And I'm so excited to get to know more about this book. So before we go on to our questions, can you tell us about a little bit about this book? What is The Voyage of a Wise Man about?
Well, it's a memoir based on my life growing up in the tumultuous 70s when drug abuse
Mm-hmm.
reached epidemic proportions. It touches a little bit on my younger days,
Mm-hmm.
experiencing a household with a alcoholic father, and
Mm-hmm.
it kind of sets up what I've gone through. And it's, like I said, it's very tragic experiences,
Mm-hmm.
but they were very triumphant
Mm-hmm.
results of those experiences. So
Mm-hmm.
I really need to get my message out to
Mm-hmm.
society regarding this book and
Yeah.
what transpired in my life.
Yes, I love
Yeah.
how your book actually has a message out there. It's about the darker era that you had before, and now it's actually being used. All of those experiences is being used as a transformative medium for the readers out there, because I know there are amazing lessons there from your experiences, and I'm so excited for people to get to know more about you and how they can how your experiences can actually change their lives as well. But I have a question here, Joe. Do you have any regrets in taking the substance or drugs that caused so much tragedy in your life back in the 70s?
Absolutely. Growing up and getting into drug abuse shortly after I graduated from high school in
Mm-hmm.
1971, I was very influential as the big brother to a couple of my siblings. And such influence rubbed off on them, which resulted in my 16-year-old brother's taking
Mm-hmm.
his life as a result of his drug abuse. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel really bad because I kind of was a bad influence on my siblings, and I feel like I was at fault for what happened to them. So, yes, I do regret very deeply getting into drug abuse that I was, into.
Mm-hmm. So I know, from that
Hmm.
perspective, I know that the book already has a power itself. Since I know there are very serious moments here, but these can also help people um, get on the right track as well. So I love that how you shared that one as well. Part of
Yeah.
the darker areas of your life. I know it's really hard to share these types of story, but right now I'm very proud of you, and I commend you for that, because a lot of people will actually find it very difficult to actually accept their own mistakes, to accept their darker past and share it to other people. And right now, from all of those experiences that you had, what would be that one word that would explain your miraculous recovery from your mental illness and drug abuse?
Okay, so kind of recapping a couple of the major experiences
Mm-hmm.
I had. I was involved in a near head on collision because
Mm-hmm.
I was under the delusion that I was Jesus Christ. And
Mm-hmm.
had it not been for a very good friend sitting beside me as we drove down the highway into the path of a fully loaded semi, my friend who grabbed the steering wheel just in the nick of time actually saved us from what would have been a disaster and surely would have resulted in the death of me and my
Mm-hmm.
two friends. That was one of the major points. And then, of course, the stunt that I pulled while in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, at a club filled up
Mm-hmm.
with college students. I ran out into the street where cars were coming at me 60 miles an hour. I
Mm-hmm.
zigzagged around three cars and
Mm-hmm.
miraculously escaped being hit. I pulled that off quite miraculously, and that resulted in me getting uh, picked up by the police and
Mm-hmm.
transported to a rehabilitation center at a local hospital. And yeah, it was very traumatic. And at the hospital, I spent 2 months there. And during them 2 months, I was given medications, seven different
Mm-hmm.
medications. Among them was stelazine, Delmain,
Mm-hmm.
lithium, thorazine, Valium, and Kenadrin, and atropine is what it was called. And these drugs were meant to help me kind of forget that I was having delusions. Well, they didn't work at all. So they started giving me shock treatments where I
Oh.
was receiving shock treatments, two a day, where 90 volts of electricity was zapped into my brain to no avail. So they upped it to 140 volts of electricity zapped into my brain. Well, none of it worked. So
Mm-hmm.
a perfect storm happened. My sister came to visit me as I
Mm-hmm.
was placed in a room where I was to have no visitors. But somehow
Mm-hmm.
she convinced them to visit me. And this was as a result of me, the decision was made that I was going to be shipped to the state institution because my insurance was running
Mm-hmm.
out. They would no longer be able to support my treatments at this hospital. Well, when my sister came to visit me, as she convinced them to let her visit me, uh, she greeted me as she walked into the room. I greeted her saying that I was Jesus Christ and there
Mm-hmm.
would be a banquet that evening with all the stars in Hollywood. Well, she
Mm-hmm.
said, "No, you're not Jesus Christ. You're my brother Joe."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "No, no, I am Jesus Christ and there will be a banquet tonight." Well, we went back and forth. And then I raised my hand in anger toward my sister.
Mm-hmm.
And then I became confused. And then suddenly I just dropped my hand
Uh-huh.
and I looked at my sister. She was cowering in fear before me. And I just felt so bad. And then I hugged her and I wept. And I told her I would rather die than to harm you, sis.
Mm-hmm.
And right then, whatever had a grip on my mind left it. And the only thing that I could come up with, why did this happen? Less than 30 seconds ago, I was in the grips of a sinister
Mm-hmm.
force under heavy delusions. But yet, suddenly, I became normal, totally sane. And the only thing I could think of is that the love for my sister and my family was what took this sinister force away. And doctors were amazed. They couldn't believe it. But
Mm-hmm.
yet, they gave me several more shock treatments for good measure before they released me a couple weeks later.
Mm-hmm. You know
So
what?
I would say love is the key word.
Mm-hmm.
That was the
Yeah.
word that allowed the miracle to happen. And I might add, it was a perfect storm. My
Uh-huh.
sister was a vessel from God that allowed her down this path to come and see me that particular day. And it,
Mm-hmm.
it actually, ended in a miracle. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been just totally sane ever since. And that miracle is allowing me to pursue my desire to capture the ears of our society.
Mm-hmm. Wow. You know what? I love hearing the story from you. You know, your story, your life story, this is a real story here, a memoir, and it's real and it's very interesting, listening from you. I can see it, from a younger version of you believing that you are Jesus Christ to, receiving shock therapy into that a moment where your sister actually visited you and all of it just went away with that moment, so realizing that you don't want hurt well, you don't want to hurt your sister. I know some of these moments, if you think back, some of them you can laugh at them, some of them you can cry, but these are very precious moments as well. And I am grateful, I'm thankful that you have this one immortalized in your book, and people can actually read it. And it happened, though. If you talk to people, so if you say this to other people, some of them might not believe it, but they are all real and
It's
they
it's
happen.
heavily
Yeah,
documented. Yeah.
heavily documented. Yes. And right now, I just want to
Yes.
ask, why do you believe a sinister force invaded your mind and not others?
Well, and that's one of the main messages that I want an ignorant society to hear. There's
Mm-hmm.
dimensions of drug abuse that few people are aware of. And one of them dimensions is the sinister forces that are all around us. I mean, on this earth, we're involved in spiritual warfare,
Mm-hmm.
whether you believe it or not. And when you have a weak mind, such as what I did, my
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle weakened my mind. I wasn't getting proper sleep. I was
Mm-hmm.
taking these drugs that were, a gateway for a sinister force to just
Mm-hmm.
enter into my mind and take control. But it isn't that I believe that I was that a sinister force took over only my mind. Quite frankly, these sinister forces invade thousands upon thousands of minds, and that's why we have such a disease raging in the world, the disease called drug abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, I would say the majority of people in rehabilitation centers have been inflicted by sinister forces, to be quite frank with you. And that's one thing that we have to really, as a society, we really have to protect ourselves against. We have to be sober minded and we have to have a strong mind to withstand these invasions by the sinister forces.
Mm-hmm. So I know you've been to, you've been to that era of your life where you had been influenced by the substances or the drugs, and right now you have a book and talking about it. I'm spreading awareness about their effects as well. And so, what steps have you taken to avoid falling back into the world of illicit drugs?
Well, obviously, I've refrained from taking drugs long ago,
Mm-hmm.
drugs such as marijuana,
Mm-hmm.
amphetamines, I delved into LSD, uh, window pain, which is the most radical form of LSD anyone could take.
Mhm.
All of them were poison to me and
Mhm.
almost resulted in my demise. But yes,
Mhm.
I've stayed away from them. I've gotten my high from the birth of my three sons. That's a high in
Mm.
itself. The greatest feeling in the world. My dear wife,
Mhm.
having a family, those are highs that no drug can touch. And it's easy for one to get into highs like that rather than the drug abuse that infests our society.
Mhm.
And I might add, if I can read just a little portion out of my book,
Sure.
I want to point out that uh, if an educated society resulted in a mere 15% uh, uh, decline in drug abuse, you would have very noticeable declines in
Mhm.
all facets of crime from murder to assault to robbery and domestic violence. This is a would be an incredible decline if just a mere 15% of
Mhm.
drug abuse would be eradicated from our world. You know, a nation with less crime uh, is a nation with more progress toward gaining scientific breakthroughs like the cure for cancer, cleaning
Mhm.
up our environment, addressing the homeless issue. So many good things can happen if people adhere to my message
Mhm.
that should have them refraining from the use of illicit drugs.
Yes. So, what I really love about how you share your story is that, you're very honest, so unfiltered. And I mentioned a while ago that if it's me, I will find it very, very difficult to share that part of my life. And many people are actually afraid to speak before a group of their peers. So how do you feel about that prospect?
I welcome that prospect. I feel like if you gave me an auditorium of a
Mm-hmm.
thousand people to listen to me, I
Mm-hmm.
welcome that. I could tell them stories that would probably really put an impact on them,
Mm-hmm.
that would actually give them uh, and the idea that they should be more careful when raising
Mm-hmm.
children, when teaching students in schools from grade school on up through graduation.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of education that needs to be taught to society, and
Mm-hmm.
only then will you have the declines that I mentioned in drug
Mm-hmm.
abuse. So yeah, I welcome any opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
speak in front of any group because
Mm-hmm.
my story is very compelling,
It
and
is.
quite frankly, there's quite a bit more that's really just as compelling that hasn't been mentioned about the Voyage of a Wise Man.
Mm-hmm.
And my book is being republished by Speaker Magnet.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't revealed the cover, and then of course I won't until it's released. But the cover alone is will knock your socks off, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
very impressed with the cover. And
Mm-hmm.
I really invite anyone within my voice to get this book, and they'll really enjoy the read, and it will really put an impact on them.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And by the way, for all our viewers as well, Joe here also has a website, and you can actually, get to know more about him, get to know more about his story, his platform as well as advocacy for, awareness of the effects of drugs and substances. You might want to visit www.wisemansvoyage.com. And once again, his book is The Voyage of a Wiseman, available on Amazon, and will soon be available on the Reader's Magnet bookstore or the Reader's Magnet website, on Barnes and Noble and Ingram Sparks as well. And William J. White, everyone. Joe, thank you for joining us here today. I had so much learning from you and your story.
Thank you, Revan, and I appreciate the conversation with you and look forward to speaking to you again. Thank you.
Yes. And guys, let's open the pages and unravel the secrets of your personal odyssey. And I believe that your ink never runs dry. So go tell your story, storyteller. This is your host, Revan. And as we say it here at Reader's Magnet, we share your story with the world. Bye for now. Stay awesome.